I do have a question though. How
Okay.
can we ensure
Mhm.
that the system is not a byproduct process, especially humanitarian supply chains when we're working or when the people are working in a crisis process and everything is out the window and it's really about getting the job done. But in my point of view, process and technology should be a key element to enhancing speed in crisis. My question is, how can we ensure that technology is not a byproduct process?
So it's a very good question, Batul, right? So I'll start with the industrial age, okay? So I think the industrial age almost ended in 1992, where prior to 1992 there was only the manual and paperwork. The process was with human, right, and with some paperwork and the records, right? There is no system for the records to maintain the records.
Mm.
After 1992, there are a lot of system of records has been built. The CRM has, the inventory record need to be maintained, employee record need to be maintained, right? All the systems has been built in the information age, the next stage. So in the industrial age, there was only human. In information age, that became two people, two different entities. One is the one is the human, existing human. Another one is the systems which we created. So now we are into AI age, where this two in the information age become three. So now there is a AI in the picture, there is a human in the picture, there is a system in the picture. So unlike information age, where only just the systems and the human need to interact, and the humans who were part of this transition, right? They might be in their 60s by now. They were firefighting with the systems to create their own mental model and the process to adapt to the system, to store the record. For example, if you take the banking industry, traditionally the bankers thought, okay, the system is going to 1990s, the system is going to come and replace my job. It doesn't. Instead of having two banks in one location, now they have 30, 40 banks in the same location. The number of branches has been improved. The new variant of system came into the picture in the information age on top of human. They have built their own mental process and behavioral process and they started using the system. Now, without system, the online banking and everything doesn't exist. So now in the AI age, the AI agents come into the picture and the existing human is still there. The existing systems will not be replaced. They still have their own system where they are recording the information, which can't be replaced. We call it as a greenfield development is not necessary. So what we do is there is a framework called BPMN, okay, Business Process Management and Notion. So now the complete re-engineering of the existing process is required, and whatever industry someone
Mm.
is belong to, because why, if you look at the industrial age, there is no process required. It's all manual process. In information age, the system adopted, the system runs the process. Human have to go and complete task using the system. So the process was quite simple. Okay, that's what we run a change management. Whenever we deploy a tool to a client, we run an adoption program to make them create the habit forming. We have something called basal ganglia in our mind, which creates an habit for certain users to come and use it again and make that as a practice. So now in the AI age, so in order to bring AI, human, an existing system without replacing it, which is quite expensive, to make all these three elements work together, that's where the business process management and Notion process,
Mm.
comes in the picture, where we have to sit with the process consultant. For example, in your industry, the humanitarian supply chain, right? You are a subject matter expert in this. So we go and map the existing assets process, how the existing systems, whether it's a custom software or the bespoke software, any tools like Excel sheet you use, and we will map the current process, okay, as this process, we document it, and then we'll explain you what is BPMN process, what AI can do, what human can do, what existing system does, and how
Mm.
we can redefine and create the business process re-engineering based on this framework to make all these people work together. Sometimes what happens is, right, when someone implement agentic AI, they say 95% of the time the agentic AI and the AI implementation fails, because implementation of AI without defining that in BPMN kind of framework is waste of time. Because what AI does, instead of competing with AI, we need to complement it. So that's where there are certain process and frameworks existing in the world which people are not aware of. So I think I recommend everyone in the industry who want to transform, reduce the cost, bring transparency, reduce the turnaround time, reduce the wastage in your industry. To understand this, I highly recommend everyone have to go and study BPMN framework, so that they can, if someone knows the process in the industry, they can able to visualize their own new process with AI with consultants like us, and then we execute that process. So where things will be much faster, 10x.
I really appreciate that. You really said various keywords, but I think something that really for me is to re-engineer the process. I think
Yeah.
we see digitalization on a very complicated process that does not even align with the business model all the time. And then they maybe sometimes they think like, okay, if we cover up with technology, process will become more, efficient, but it's not really the case. So
Yeah.
that we definitely see that all the time on ground.
Yeah, the technology should not compete with the process. The technology should be part of the process. So it should complement the process. That's when we always say, right, 70% of the time, any digital transformation, it's all about business and the common sense. We need to sit and explore with the domain expert to build the process. And technology is just the third layer. The first layer is the human layer. The second layer is the process layer. And third layer is the technology layer. So now, that's where we have certain frameworks existing for the modern world, where we need to use framework to define the re-engineer the process, and then the technology, AI, and humans can work together to create a greater impact. So yeah. So and Batul, in your domain, right? What is the real win? What do you think as a real win from the government and policymakers? So how you are managing them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering how do you do it? If you can give me a little bit of an explanation on how do you do it on ground.
So how do we do it? It's a very good question. So how do you do this? Just first we have understanding, and we make our any of our clients realize that technology is just a supplement and not the actual food, right? So process, the technology should be part of the process, for which the process need to be redefined, re-engineered, right? So what we do is that we will apply a Masco method: must have, should have, could have, and wouldn't have. We go to any business or any organizations, we identify the list of most frequently used and what process draining their money, draining their cost, and delaying few things. And based on several metrics, we sit with the subject matter expert in that organization, process expert, and we identify what is the must have, what is the should have, and what is the could have, and what is the wouldn't have process. So we pick up one process and document the as is process, and then we build the BPMN, business management and Notion based orchestration process between how human we will basically orchestrate us. This consultation is called orchestration consultation, where the human, technology, and what agentic AI need to do. And so we create a new process based on that, for which first we deploy our BPMN consultant. Our BPMN process consultant is not a tech guy, he's a techno-functional guy, which means his skill set will be like 40% of tech and 60% on the process and the operations, and with AI capability as well. He align AI's capability, existing human capability, existing system, what it does, and you will create a new process for only must have and deploy it in a very agile way, which means we won't go. And there are multiple challenges in this, right? First is, instead of choosing something which can add value to the organization, they end up pick up something which is not adding value. So even the technology is implemented right, even the process is implemented right using BPMN framework, there won't be any usage. There is no frequency of usage. So initially, in order to help anyone to realize the value, we have to find something which process they are frequently using manually with just with the systems and human in the current organization, and how long it takes for them to complete it, how much it costs for them, and the perceived utility, how that process is important in their organization to completing that process. So based on the frequency of the process, they need to repeat the process, and based on the perceived utility, the value which they get from the process, it can be cost reduction, improved efficiency, what kind of value they get. We prioritize only top 3 process and automate that for them. You won't be surprised, there are certain process where human no need to interact at all. AI and systems can do it. That's where the
That's impressive.
AI can log in, write an email, send an invoice, all this possible. So it's a combination of many different skills, right? In the BPMN process, there is something called robotic process automation. There is something called intelligence automation, where, for example, instead of traditionally the systems were very transactional, when AI come to the picture, it's adding more value. For example, if someone posts a letter, the AI can open the letter, edit the letter, and send it. You know what I mean? Between two
Yeah.
different systems. systems and building integration between the two systems. It's all possible.
We live in a new world.
Yeah, we live in a new world, especially for a non-profit industry. Once the BPMN process is implemented and it started running, you can witness, you can even have a 50% of reduction in the operating expense most of the time. Not just operating expense. On top of that, reduce the turnaround time, increasing efficiency, increasing accountability.
And I
Yeah.
think one of the most important also ones we see, just to add on to your list, is investments, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars investment in the wrong technology. And I also, I think that's also a cost that, they don't really need to pay, or they shouldn't pay. So I think that's also a cost reduction on the long run.
Yeah, there are few processes where the technology is not required at all.
Hmm.
You can use some commercial off-the-shelf solutions to drive that particular process in a very cheaper way, a cost-effective way. And currently, there is a lack of awareness among the industry leaders. That's when, right, at Digiryte we are starting an initiative called Tech for Non-Tech. That's where
Hmm.
we are conducting the no-cost programs for the industry leaders in spite of any domain they are from, how teaching them, and they can be their own technology consultants, the goal of it, and then they can identify the process inefficiencies, tech. So when the real innovation comes is when we have several consultants in this domain, right? One is T-shaped consultant, the one who have more knowledge in one industry and he can able to apply that to wider industries. Pie-shaped consultants, for example, they have knowledge of two industries. For in your case, the humanitarian, that non-profit is one industry. It can be one, and your future of knowledge, your knowledge on, for example, your knowledge on how the supply chain works, the logistics works, right? Can be another pillar. You are a pie-shaped consultant. Sometimes there are comb-shaped consultants as well. So when some piece of information lacks, where we need to have a complementary resources contributing to the particular process to reduce the inefficiency.
Mm. It's very interesting to hear.
Yeah, Batul. So if you could, every tech innovator, the government leader, and humanitarian, decision makers in the same room, what would you tell them about building better supply chain for the future?
I think I would tell them, I would touch upon 3 points. I think first thing is really to start small and purposeful. I think we all the time try to implement technologies that are able to link the data from beneficiaries to through humanitarian supply chains to the donor to the government. Just not looking for to operate the latest trend, rather to have a business fit with a purpose type of technology that is tailored around beneficiaries and how to reach beneficiaries and how to collect data that donors are looking for, but it's beneficiary centric. Another thing that we see all the time, and this is a recommendation I would give, is data quality over quantity. We see all the time, purchases of technologies, or like real-time dashboards. But then when we kind of look into behind the technology, we find the data quality might not be up to measure. And in order for the governments and donors and humanitarian supply chains and humanitarian actors to make decisions that is based on real lifetime data, I think a core element is for it to be reliable data. At the end
Mm.
of the day, we do take ownership together. It's a community ownership across all stakeholders.
Mhm.
And we always, when we also talk to frontliners, sometimes they are not part of the equation, but frontliners really have a lot of solutions to how
Mm.
a leadership team can do it. And we bring their voices to leadership teams that can make a difference all the time.
So great, Badal. So what one skill or mindset someone should start building today to work in this intersection?
I think ownership. Ownership is very important. Ownership of the work through the process, process or the data quality that you are integrating in the process. Because when it starts with ownership, it really builds reliability for the senior or for the decision makers in the community or in the organization. I would definitely say it's ownership.
What is the tool currently you can't live without?
A technology tool I cannot
Yeah.
live without. I cannot live without a project management tool.
So yeah, Batul. So basically, in startup industry, right, we always say the speed is important than precision. So but when it comes to your industry, you are dealing with humans. You are working on some sensitive areas, right, where people in the emergency need your assistance at most. So my assumption is you just need to manage the speed as well as the precision. So how do you balance both?
I think that's a great question. And I think this is one of the key elements that we support at Help Logistics. In times of a crisis, obviously you're in fight or flight. Even the supply chain, the humanitarian supply chain, is in flight or flight mode. So it's really about getting as fast aid delivered. It's a bit of balance of both. So for example, of course, when we're working with food, it's very different than when we're working with non-food items. So for example, tent. So when you're working with food, also like the faster delivery, the better, just because it's also the number one need on ground. But also, due to spoilage and storage conditions, you need to push it out. What we do at Help Logistics, we really support humanitarian supply chains with called preparedness. So it's how to
Mm,
be prepared for the crisis, whether it's process, whether it's technology, and whether it's pre-positioned stock, for example, really having the aid in place. How can we position stock across the country, across the globe, in case an emergency happens, from where to ship this stock? So, for example, when COVID hit, it was quite difficult because you either find the food locally or it
mm,
will just never enter the country, right? So it's a
yeah.
lot about preparedness for the emergency rather than in the emergency itself, trying to kind of, it's not best case scenario to go, precision over fast delivery, but obviously in a crisis, always delivery across anything.
So that's great, Batul. So everyone will have a major shift in the paradigm consciously. The pivotal point. Sometimes we always say if you wanted to know where you will be in next 5 years, the five close people you associated with and five books you read, that will influence us to how we gonna be in the future, right? What we are going to be, how we are gonna be. So what is the who's the important person, or book or both? Can you please tell us, who influenced you lot so to kickstart your career in this and shine in that career?
I think having a support system is very important. I have my aunt. She really
Oh.
supported me to go after my dreams. It's not an easy move from commercial to non-commercial or profit sector because, especially when you are working in the commercial sector and you really have this career that you always had, it really needed support and a push from people who are close to me and confidence that to go after something that I really love. I think one thing that I really learned from her is that even if I went into the nonprofit, I could also change the love in the future for me, for what I want to do. So what you want to do, it could happen for me for 5 years, but maybe after 5 years I will change. So it's always, it's not set in stone. I think one book that I really love reading over and over, and I actually use it as a literature book that I keep on my in my library. It's called The Messy Middle.
Messy middle. Okay.
The Messy Middle, and it really
Okay.
talks about how to endure in very hard times. And I think it's very helpful for the humanitarian sector. Although the author, he is actually he built his own technology company, and it was a startup for so many years, and then he sold it for billions of dollars. But he really talks about endurability, how to endure times of letdown and times of like, oh, you almost got it, but then, okay, it did not work. And sometimes you go so far and then you drop back to zero. And him talking about that, like it's not a straight line to win or to reach where you go, really gives it a different perspective on life. And I think it's very important for the humanitarian sector because it's definitely not a straight line. No matter how much we draw a straight line ahead of it, it's not a straight line. And but then if you really zoom out of years and years of working in the nonprofit sector, then you can see the line is at least going a little bit up. So and I think that's where the hope comes from.
So great, Badal. The one thing is it's very fascinating, where you touched many points, right? The books which you read and your aunt kind of people who influenced you directly, passively and actively, and also, taking this cross-functional domain. What I mean is like, you have very passionate towards serving people, which I can witness and see by interacting with you. And second thing is your knowledge more on the humanitarian side and the logistics and supply chain side. On top of that, that data analytics side, because I mean, I've been interacting with some of the industry experts as well, not technology side, but on the process side. But the efficiency, for the intention to create a new process, the mindset to be the adaptive mindset, rather than predictive mindset, being that adaptive mindset, because the change is only constant thing in the world. Then, the openness to adapt to the technology and realizing the technology can solve the problem. That is the big advantage I can see. I'm sure with consultants like yours, the world need you guys for next few thousand years. Not It's not about setting up the process for today. It's all about the setting the process for the future, right? So that's where it's quite very impressive, and your intention to think about technology, your knowledge on the technology, your knowledge on the analytics. It's so fascinating, to be part of this call and learn more about you. Even from our side, we are looking forward to, contribute more, even on the pro bono basis, right from the consulting side or delivery side, whatever in a way we could able to do as part of our, CSR activity. We keep doing that. Thank you, Batul. Thanks for joining today.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much,
Thank
Ramesh.
you. Thank you.